Okay, so I'm actually working on a knitting project. So, as you know, I mostly do weaving, but the other day I took up knitting and I've knitted two items so far. One is a pair of what I believe they're called cabin socks. They have some cable on them. And then the other was a little sweater for my daughter. And those came out okay, and I'm pretty happy with them. So I found a Vogue knitting book at the secondhand store and decided, why don't I give this a try? So I picked it up and I found this really pretty pattern inside of it. And even though it's rated, you have to be an expert to do it. And I'm clearly not an expert. I said, why not? Let's give it a try. So I'm going to go ahead and give that pattern a try. I'm using a different yarn. I'm using loops and threads, and this color is where is it? So this color is Sedona, and it's a number 3 wool. So well, it's a wool mix. It's polyester and merino blend. I haven't worked with a wool blend yet, so this is exciting. I figured it'd be worth a shot, and then if it comes out horrible, I didn't spend a fortune on yarn. So I should only need 3 of these, and probably not even the full 3. So let's just give it a shot, see how it goes, and hopefully it comes out. Let's just keep touching base and see if I can do an expert sweater over the next month or so. Maybe not, but we're going to give it a shot. So, my 1 month challenge is definitely a fail. I'm about a month into this, and I'm just finishing the back panel. By finishing, I mean I'm within the last 25 rows or so. So I still probably have another week because of how slow I'm going. But all in all, it's been a very fun experience. Just kind of trying to make this scarf and the back panel, or this sweater. The back panel is supposed to be the easiest part. So I'm imagining the front half will actually take me longer. This is likely going to turn into a 3-month project, but we'll see. So I've got some place markers in that you can kind of see. And that's because that's where I'm going to do the ribbing for the back of the neck line, from what I understand. So that's nice. Once this sweater reaches 22 inches in length is when I'm supposed to start doing the ribbing. And then after a few rows of that, I'm supposed to start binding off. I obviously can't remember all of the instructions, so I have the book pretty close to me, so I can always look at it whenever I'm working on it. Been using my phone to keep track of where I am. Like, oh, how many stitches into this am I? Am I on row 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever it is? Because like right now, I'm supposed to reduce for 25 rows, I think, or yeah, 25 rows. So I'm doing that. The one part that I found rather challenging is when it says, bind off on both sides. Kind of learning that technique that allows me to bind off on the end of the row, binding off there versus having to turn and then bind off at the start of the row. So very easy to bind off at the start of the row. I'm learning how to bind off at the end of the row. It's taking some practice, but I think I'm getting there. I've done it twice now. Or no, yeah, twice now. So I think after I've done it 25 times, I'll be much better at it. Although, knowing me, by the time I start my next project, I'll completely forget how, and I'll have to look it up again. But even with that, whenever that happens, you're usually better at it the second time around, even if you have to look it up again, because your hands are better at the movements. They remember them. They're like, oh yeah, I've done this before. I can do this. At least that's what I find. It's been a fun experience so far. something this big. I've never knitted anything this big. As I said previously, I've only ever knitted like uh, one pair of socks and a kid's sweater. So this is my biggest and hardest project. According to this Vogue edition, it's an expert level project, and I am not expert level by any stretch of the imagination. I can already see flaws in this, so I'm not going to pretend like it's coming along perfectly. There's definitely some unevenness in some of my stitches. Uh, don't know why. For some reason, I didn't skip a stitch, but there's like this weird gap between the stitches. And then I look and I'm like, no, the stitch isn't skipped. Don't know why that hole is there. So some of it is definitely a little bit more complicated, and my technique is not proficient enough to not have these type of issues come up. But my theory whenever doing something like this is it's far outside my comfort zone. It's a lot of time to learn, but also since it requires so many stitches, you can generally see on one project how much you've progressed, which I like seeing, my start of the project versus the end of the project, how it looks, and comparing. Then also knowing my next project's going to be even better because I've started to improve just in these different areas. So that's not for everybody. I generally do like to do a large project early on just to improve my skill overall. And then the smaller projects don't seem as daunting or even trying a complex pattern. So I like to have one big failure to start with and then, some wins after. Everybody's different. Some people just like to have a lot of little wins and then build up to that big one. So that's fine. That's probably a very satisfying way to learn a skill. Is to just go ahead and build up slowly so that all of your little projects are mostly wins. Uh, Maybe that's what I should do, but I don't. I am just not one of those people. I'm like, I'm just going to go big or go home. And when I inevitably get sent home by my project beating me, I'm just going to go, you know what? Now I can definitely do this smaller project because if I even completed that one, I can definitely do this. It's a weird logic, but it's mine. I go with it. So it's getting pretty big. I mean, got the sleeves. Actually looks like a sweater now when you face it this way, which is kind of cool. So this is the right side, actually. Yep. So you got the knit and everything, and you can kind of see my knitting is, my knitting is kind of subpar, but that's okay. I'm not worried about it. And some of it will wash out, right? That's my theory. It'll wash out. You throw it through the wash, you throw it through the dry cycle, and it should, wiggle it around, cover some of the flaws, or make them worse. But you know what? I'm going to go with cover. Uh, Although I have to finish the blocking on this first before I, launder it like I normally would. So let's keep this going. So this hasn't been my main project. My main project has been my weaving with the ancient rose motif and the watchtower brocade. I'm pretty far into that. I only have to do the top of the watchtower, which is probably about another inch or two for the brocade, and then I'll just have to do the ancient rose motif. See, this is what I'm talking about. Look at this hole. Like, I don't know what caused that, but it's like a perfectly sized thing, and I didn't skip a stitch because it's not trying to come undone. I don't know what I did, but it's one of them. I have a couple of those. But as I was saying, this isn't really a main project. That sampler is. And once I finish the brocade, it'll just be weaving the motif, which will come along a lot faster. So I'm getting close to the end of this row. All in all, this has been a very fun project to do, and I think I will be happy with it no matter what. I'm excited about it. I hope it turns out really well. Uh, Even if it doesn't, I'll probably love it and wear it anyway because I'm pretty easygoing about that kind of stuff. And I do think it's pretty cool so far. I like the color. I think it works well. Maybe it isn't my color. I feel like it is. So I'm excited. I think it probably won't look like the picture, but it'll be close enough for me to be satisfied for this being such an early project in my knitting skills. Let me know if you're working on any projects. Let me know what kind of projects you're working on and what is your favorite way to improve a skill. Is it through small projects? Is it through a large project? As you know, I like to do a large project as a way to improve my skills, but not everybody does. So I'd like to hear what your preference is on that. And why don't you also share what your favorite fiber craft is? I know you can tell from the channel, mine is weaving, but I do like to expand into other areas. So I'd love to hear which one's your favorite and why you love it. So don't forget, drop a comment, like, share with your friends. And as always, I'll catch you in the next one. Have an awesome day.